Hello there, the Internet Tough Monkey here once again. Hope that you're all well. Thank you very much for stopping by. Okay, once again we are looking at a lap time challenge on Gran Turismo 7. This time we're at Laguna Seca in the Ford Mustang, and this one's a bit of a swine. In fact, you're probably going to know before I know whether I'm going to succeed in this. Normally I title my video something like how to make 2,000 credits by getting gold in the lap time challenge, but this video could well say how I failed miserably at the lap time challenge, because I had a go last night, which was Saturday, the first Saturday the game was live, and I didn't do particularly well. It's now Sunday. I've just finished watching the Grand Prix, and spoiler alert, McLaren are washed. I'm now on the Fernando Alonso hype train for sure. But last night I had a quick go, and it took me a little while to figure out that I was painfully slow, 8-9 seconds off the lap times I should have been, because I hadn't been setting up the car. And this is the reason behind the video, is because we're going to go along together and try and set up a car to get us underneath the qualifying standard to get a gold medal time. So let me just turn me steering wheel on, get that all set up. Yeah, I had a go. And I started tinkering with the settings of the car. You're going to need the Ford Mustang to start with. You're going to need to buy quite a few little upgrades, and you're going to need to bring the weight of the car down, as you'll see shortly. Let me just go into the game. Okay, into the world map. Go to Sport. Go to the Lap Time Challenge. So what, let's put you on full screen so you don't have to look at my ugly mush. Right, so there we go. I'm at a 130.421 at the moment, which is just good enough for silver by about half a second. But to get gold, that's actually come down from where it was last night. We're at a 129.264 now. That's going to be quite a target to beat, that is. 1.2 seconds off of that. That is going to be a challenge. Okay, so these are the rules. You've got to have a car that has no more than 443 horsepower and a weight of at least 1,300 kilograms. So if we just go into the car settings, you're on Sport Soft, so you're going to need to buy some of those. You're going to need to buy your Ford Mustang, and I'll add this in the post-edit. You'll also need to buy a front wing and a rear wing for your Mustang. That will enable you to adjust the downforce, which you need to do on this car. And we're going to try to get the car as close to 443 horsepower on the left over there as you possibly can, and also bring the weight down. So you're going to be needing to play around with ballast, and you're going to need to be playing around with your ECU and your power restrictors. Now, rightly or wrongly, what I've done so far, if we come back out of this and go to the shop, so we've bought the car. Let's go to the tuning shop and see what I've fitted. I fitted pretty much everything, and I'm working backwards. Rightly or wrongly, I'm adjusting everything to meet the criteria. So what have I got? I'll go from the extreme backwards. So I've put on a carbon ceramic brake kit, whether you need that. I've just gone for the best. Racing, I've basically bought everything I can stick on this car. So polished ports, balanced tuning, got the racing intercooler, I've got the high-end torque supercharger. Again, whether that's right or wrong, I may swap by the end. Racing air filter, racing silencer, racing brake pads, a racing manifold, brake balance controller, that's quite important, the clutch and flywheel, fully customizable suspension, and customized racing transmission. What else have we got on here? We've got the racing crank, we've got the fully customizable computer, we've got the LSD, that's quite important, and I'll show you why in a moment, and we've got weight reduction 1, 2 and 3. What else we've got? Bore up, high lift camshaft, and the power restrictor as well. That's important, power restrictor and the ballast. But the weight reduction without the ballast brings it below the minimum level. You're going to need to add on amount of ballast to bring it back up. So if we go back to the car setting, this is a work in progress at the moment. I think I had about half an hour on it last night once I'd figured out that I could change the settings on it. So if we go into the settings of the car, this is where I am at the moment. Feel free to copy and paste all these onto your own settings, but as I say, this is a work in progress. The LSD is what controls this bit, everything below the differential gear. This car is an absolute beast. All the power goes to the rear wheels, it just wants to spin out as you put the power down out of a corner. So I've been adjusting this downwards, this is where I am at the moment. I may yet go further down. If you see up there downforce, I've actually set all that to as maximum as it can possibly get to. Again, rightly or wrongly, this is a work in progress. So if you see on the left hand side over there, weight is at 1300. That's because I've used the ballast. If you move this around, you can see, and recalibrate it, it goes to 1293. That's below where it needs to be, so it needs to have 57 kilograms of weight once you've taken on all the weight reductions to get it to 1300 kilograms. Then it's a matter of tinkering with the power of the car, the ECU. Now I can't actually get it to 443. I've had to play around with it, I can't get it to 443. Top speed. Now Laguna Seca isn't a particularly fast circuit, which is why I've got the downforce on quite so high. Work in progress, work in progress. So I've got a supercharger high end, whether that needs to be high end, I may adjust that yet. And these items here, again, tinkering with them at the moment. We'll keep playing with those until we find the right setting. But at the moment, I'm 1.2 second off the time, and I reckon there's a good half a second at least just on my own technique. So let's go ahead and start having a play, see where we get to. Okay, settings wise, as always, I have all of the assists off with the exception of ABS. Always set that to weak. We may need to play around with the traction control, but for the moment it's completely off. Okay, this was my first set of runs, a 130.421, some way off the lead, and as you can see it's still a bit of a handful. I needed to go back to the settings and sort something out pretty quickly. Now if you do just want to see my fastest lap and the settings I used to get that fastest lap, just spin through to 14 minutes and 7 seconds. That's all you need to see. But this is how I developed my time. This is how I managed to work through the settings over the last 3 nights. It was a labour of love. I really wanted to do it, and you can see how many laps I'm putting in trying to find my best setup. My times are coming down all the time, but each time I'm just not quite finding the confidence in the car. So every time I'm just tweaking a little bit here and there, just trying to find that extra bit of turning grip, a little bit of traction under acceleration, just little fine tunings here and there, just trying to find that extra bit of speed. Now, I'm not going to claim to know everything about car setups. I really don't. I might know how to drive a car, but I don't necessarily understand all the parameters that go into making it handle absolutely perfectly. So it's a bit of a trial and error for me. I won't be exaggerating to say I've done at least 150, maybe 200 laps during the course of this video, trying to find my ultimate setup. It really is trial and error. I know what I want the car to do. I want a car with a pointy front end that turns in. When I turn the steering wheel, I get confidence it's going to grip up. The back end, I don't mind it being a bit slidey. I'll sort that out with the steering inputs and the throttle inputs. But it's trying to work out how to actually get the car to do that, how to set the car up to do what I want it to do. So I'm playing around with the suspension settings, setting the toe angle up, setting the dampener and the anti-roll bar, the body height adjustment. I'm sorting out the downforce. I'm just trying to get the car to be able to ride at a certain level, to get over the curbs and the bumps nicely and turn in on the front end, not fly the back end out too much like we're seeing here, straight into the barrier again. And that was Sunday night over and done with. A couple of hours, I'd had enough. I was off downstairs to go and watch a bit of TV with the wife. Okay, Sunday has been and gone. It's now Monday. I've just finished work. I've got a couple of hours before I go and play pool this evening. Let's have another crack. After what, 2-3 hours of tinkering over the weekend, from 2 completely different setups, I managed to get the exact same time of a 1:29.649. Now, since last night, no one has gone any quicker, so the target time is still 1:29.198. We've still got to find half a second. Not sure where I'm going to find half a second at the moment, but during the day, at lunchtime, while I sat and had my cheese and chicken cobs, I was having a look on the internet at a few other people's setups, and most that I could find were very similar to what we've got here, but there was a couple that suggested something slightly different, so I've not completely ripped off someone else's setup, but I've gone further towards it, so somewhere in between where I was and where I am now. So I've kind of gone back to the initial settings with the initial the torque and the acceleration sensitivity, because the brakes didn't feel particularly responsive. Almost felt long, like going into the over the crest of the hill into the corkscrew. It didn't feel quite right. So I've had a a minor tweak of a few things. I've put the top speed back up to the automatic setting when you click 260 there. And I've had a bit of a play around. In fact, I wasn't happy with the fact that I'd upgraded all of the components. See, down there, I've actually gone back to the standard engine and started again. So I've probably wasted a load of money. In fact, if I don't get the 2 million, I'm not going to break even on this job, I'm pretty sure. So I've gone back, had a bit of a retinker, and these are my settings. So I've got a couple of hours to see if I can improve on where we were yesterday. Here we go. Now, although this last few nights have been utterly painful for me, it's actually been quite a useful learning experience. I don't tend to enter many of the Gran Turismo events which need much tuning of the car. I just tend to stick to like daily race A, maybe daily race B, just jump in, do what I need to do. You just drive with the car that you're given half the time. So this has been quite a useful experience for me to play around with settings, learn what things do. Like I said earlier on, although I know how to throw a car around a track, I don't necessarily understand how I get the car to operate at its optimum performance level, but doing what we've done over the last couple of nights, I've learned a few things. Or for example, I've learned how to drive a muscle car a little bit better than I did at the start of the week. I'm a Brit, I'm not used to these kind of cars. I'm used to small sporty cars which might not have the power, but they certainly have the handling characteristics. But a muscle car, it's just it's all brute force and no finesse. It's a difficult thing to get the hang of. But here we are. This is going to bring an end to the day's play on the Monday evening before I shot off to go and play my game of pool, which I ultimately lost. It wasn't going well at this point, it really wasn't. Okay, it's no longer Monday, it's now Tuesday. I really am living this lap time trial at Laguna Seca. I've done well over 100 laps now, and as you might notice, he's gone faster. These guys here are having a private battle to be first, so it means that the 3% rule is coming down and down and down, so we're now at 129.121. I've got to find 3/10, and after 100 odd laps, I'm not sure where it's going to come from. Now, one thing I've noticed, I had a look at lunchtime again as to what I might be doing wrong, and I discovered I hadn't got the wide body kit. I'd realised that my performance points was lower than some of the videos I'd seen, and it was the wide body kit, so I've put that on. I'm going to see if it makes any difference. I've increased the body height ever so slightly, but other than that, I had a bit of a play around with the standard parts I've got fitted here, so then I could have a play around with the ECU and the power restrictor. I managed to find a balance that gives me 443 horsepower. I was at 442. Will that make the difference? I don't know. I'm sure I'm going to have to tinker again, but this has got to be the last night I'm going to be doing this. I've got stuff to do, I've got jobs that need doing. I need to do this, otherwise I'm just going to go absolutely insane. So let's hope we do this tonight. It only took me a couple of laps to realise that the setting just wasn't quite right for me. It wasn't quite balanced enough, so I just made a little bit of an adjustment to the torque and the acceleration settings, and bumped up the top speed of the car, and suddenly things started happening straight away off the bat. I did a 129.219. I went quicker than I'd done by 0.2 of a second. I was so surprised. I don't know where that came from. It didn't even feel like a particularly good lap, and then the laps just kept on coming. I mean, I knocked off work at about 5:10 this evening. I was expecting a 4 or 5 hour session, but no, the laps just kept on coming. I mean, look at that, a 129.161, and it wasn't even a particularly good lap. I suddenly felt energised. I thought, you know what, I can do this, and then we're down to a 129.034, and that was quite painful. That was because I thought, you know what, I'm probably never going to get under the 129. It suddenly became my mission to go under 129, and there it was, at 128.998. But these laps weren't particularly clean, so I knew I had something slightly better in the tank, and this is my best lap. I'll let you watch it, but do pay close attention to my gear shifts. How I drop a gear down to rotate the car and then slap it back up again to maintain control of the back end of the car as you come out of the corners. And you're going to see at this next corner how my Fanatec steering wheel doesn't always downshift when I select it. I should have gone to third gear, so when I went back up a gear, I thought I was going to fourth. That's why I went to fifth there. So that's that. That's my best time so far. I've given you the setups, which I'll show in more detail in a moment. But the biggest advice I can give you is be so gentle on that throttle. Feather the throttle. Ease the power back on as though there's an egg under the accelerator pedal. That sort of jazz. Well, there you go. 128.858. A potential lap of a 128.5 something. Do I feel safe though? We've still got 8 days until the end of the event. 2.7% above the fastest lap. Am I happy with that? I'm still 2.3 seconds off the fastest time, but I'm nowhere near that. Having done, I don't know, 150 laps around Laguna Seca, I think I'm going to call it there. So, right. Let's have a look at my settings that I did that on. I've tweaked these so many times over the last few days. Right, these are my settings. I raised the ride height. It let it ride the curbs just that little bit better. My toe angle is a bit different to what I've seen on other people's. I've tried to get the toe angle in to get the grip at the front end. So as it turned in, it would actually grip up the car. I like a car that's nose heavy, pointy on the front end, and everything seemed to just come together in that final section and set of runs. The first lap, I suddenly beat my best time, just straight off the bat, and I don't know how. Downforce, have I got full downforce? I've not quite got full downforce at the rear. I've let it like I say, I like to have a front end that I can trust, and I'll sort the back end out. These are my outputs. I'll show you what I've got installed. So I've got bore up, I've got high lift camshaft, I've got all 3 of the stages of bodywork weight reduction, increased rigidity, and the only thing I've changed today really was putting the wide body kit on and wide wheels on. I don't know how much of a difference that actually makes, but we seem to have just that little bit of extra stability. Still got a supercharger high end, racing intercooler, racing air cleaner, racing silencer. I changed the exhaust manifold. That's one of the things I changed. Changed that from the racing to the normal. That allowed me to tinker with the ECU and the power restrictor to hit that 443 maximum power. Carbon brakes, racing brake pads, normal handbrake. Obviously not doing anything with that. Now, although it says 1 brake balance there, I actually put it to -2. I moved the brakes forward, I think. And I changed the top speed to 270. I was sitting at 260. And I brought the torque and the acceleration sensitivity down just a couple of notches. I'd started high, come down, gone back up, and I've finished at 8, 10 and 15 for the torque, acceleration and brakes. So there you go. That's how I've got under the gold qualifying time. But Christ, that was an effort. That was Sunday, Monday and tonight of maximum effort. I don't think I've ever spent, I know I've never spent as much time. In fact, this was probably the biggest challenge. I mean, ignore getting gold on all of the driving licenses, the Porsche 917, is it? Around Spa in the wet, forget that, forget doing the Nürburgring on all the different events that I've done, doing the electric Porsche around Nürburgring. That was the hardest challenge so far on Gran Turismo on a single player event. I know it's multiplayer, you know what I mean. Wow. I'm feeling lucky. Let's go. In fact, before I do that, let me save my best lap replay because I want to have a look at that. Let's go and have a look at what I've won for the daily roulette spin, because I feel good. I feel lucky. It's bound to be something world class. It's got to be at least a Bugatti. It's got to be at least a Lamborghini. It's got to be something good. It's got to be something expensive. What do you think, viewer? What do you think it's going to be? Let's have a look. Well, it's clearly going to be £1 million. Clearly going to be £1 million. I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time, viewer. Take it easy.